Chairman.
Thank you. We'll now recognize Mr. Grothman from Wisconsin for 5 minutes.
This one.
Can we help him?
General question for Mr. Minton. When we think of college sports, we think, I guess, of Division I football, Division I basketball, because that's what's on TV, and that's what comes to mind. But just looking at one of the non-Division I colleges in my district, they have baseball, basketball, football, cross-country swimming, wrestling, track, tennis, volleyball, gymnastics, soccer, and golf. You at Marquette have a big-time basketball program, Division I, super stuff. But how many other sports do they play at Marquette other than just Division I basketball?
I think there's roughly a dozen other sports besides men's and women's basketball.
Okay, and Marquette is big deal on Division I basketball. You've got other colleges like Concordia or Wisconsin at Oshkosh in my district who have no, as far as I know, income-producing sports. Percentage-wise, and if you can't take a stab at this, someone else can, what percent of athletes around the country are playing in income-producing sports?
Well, we start with there's roughly, I think it's 525,000 NCAA athletes across all three divisions. The only sports that typically generate revenues would be some Division I FBS teams. That would be the ones, the autonomy conferences, Big Ten, SEC.
Right, probably not Central Michigan. Right?
No, that's certainly true. Then you have Division I men's basketball teams. You don't, of that number, I think it's probably less than 20,000. If you add up the number of Division I basketball, men's and women's
Certainly
athletes,
well under 5%, right?
Yes.
Think. Yeah. Therefore, if we said student athletes were considered employees, the reason the university world fights that is because that would make, well, both income and non-income producing sports more expensive to operate, right?
Yes.
And if, say, at Marquette, the cost of operating, I don't know what all the sports you have there, but these other sports, if you drive up the cost there and drive up the cost for your Division I basketball program, what's the way you deal with increased cost? What are universities obviously going to do?
Well, then you're going to look to reduce costs, and I think what's likely to happen is the sports. We don't want to see a model, for example, be just the sports that
you're going to get rid of sports, aren't you?
Yes.
You're going to get rid of a lot, and that's even at Marquette where you got the big basketball team. At Wisconsin, at Oshkosh, at Concordia, to name two other universities in my district, who are losing money off the top. Can you guess wildly? I suppose it's unfair to do this to you. Guess wildly what sports would disappear, what athletes are going to lose the chance to play in sports because either they are classified as employees or even worse, become unionized?
Well, I'd say largely Olympic sport athletes. Some women's sports, of course, Title IX requires that there be, gender equity in terms of number of sports participation opportunities, equal treatment benefit. But I think a number of sports that are now intercollegiate will be downgraded to club sports.
Tennis, golf, wrestling, swimming, that sort of thing will become club sports, right?
I think that's what's most likely to happen.
Right. So the big impact of this on people is a lot of athletes in what we'd call non-income producing sports. I hate to use the phrase minor sports, but they just lose that opportunity, right?
I think that's what's most likely.
Yeah. One other comment, I want one of you guys to comment on it. It is my belief right now in smaller universities, NAIA or Division III or whatever, that sometimes the universities use these sports, I know they do, and small universities to bring in more tuition revenue In other words, in a way, they're taking advantage of the kids because they're saying you're going to have this great experience here, but they're feeding off of their desire to continue their high school career, and as the result, maybe they don't wind up with something of value because they've been used just to get more tuition, get more butts in the seats. Could one of you guys comment on that?
I'll take a stab at that. I think, first of all, you're right in your questioning. When you think about our rowers, our tennis athletes, they're benefiting substantially from their opportunity to participate as athletes. And I think that's unquestioned. The amount of enrollment and money being brought in by athletes is changing significantly as you look at discount rates on the rise and putting athletics aid on top of that. I think gone are the days at many schools where they're a revenue or an enrollment driver.
Thank you. We will now recognize Ms. Adams from North Carolina for 5 minutes. Apologies, Ms. Manning from North Carolina for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses today. Mr. Pierce, let me